Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I do believe that we're live, although I don't believe there's anybody there yet. so I'm just going to fill in until Chris, you can tell me when people start coming in. But did you all have a fabulous and a wonderful Thanksgiving? All of you who celebrated it, did you enjoy your day? Uh, for those of you who are not American, yesterday, I think it always falls, Thanksgiving always falls on a Thursday. Uh, Thursday, it was the Thanksgiving Day when the Americans celebrate the coming together of all of those wonderful Native Americans who actually helped all of the pilgrims who came over in the, I don't even know what year it was, 1600s or something, was it, Chris? I don't know. I'm not sure.
1620.
That see, gosh, I know my history. Not really. All right. So, do we have people coming in now, Chris?
We do.
All right. So, good morning, everybody. First of all, as always, I would like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Gregor, who is always, as always, standing to my right side. And I'd also like to say good morning to you, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning, Rosemary. Good morning, everyone.
So, Chris, did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
I did. I traveled and I was with family, so yes.
Where were you exactly?
Near to San Antonio, Texas.
Okay. So I know when you called me yesterday, you were at the Alamo,
That is correct. I'm
which
sure it was
is,
a teeny tiny blip on your phone screen, but yes, I was.
well, I could somewhat see it, which is the Alamo for anybody who doesn't know, and I've just been informed by Chris, is the old fort where the Mexicans and the Texans fought for supremacy because Texas was trying to become its own state, and the Mexican president wouldn't let them do it. Do I have that?
I would say that's a good roundabout way of saying it.
Okay, and for all of us Brits, those of you who are my age and older, which is very old, um, apparently, and I've just learned this piece of information, it was where Davy Crockett, not David, Davy Crockett died. On the last day of the battle, Davy Crockett was killed in the Battle of Alamo. Uh, those of you who are, yes, are my age, maybe a bit younger than me, who knows? We used to have occasional American television. Now, of course, we get it a lot. But in those days, we would occasionally get an American program coming to Britain. And one of the favorites was actually one of the big favorites was Rawhide. Chris, do you remember Rawhide?
Oh, I'm singing the song in my head.
And and the other, of course, as we're talking about, it was Davy Crockett. And we used to sing the song. And my father actually, I was telling Chris, my father actually made my younger sister, and I. Uh, he made us both Davy Crockett hats. I think he must have used an old fur coat that he found from somewhere or another. We had the fur hat with the tail behind it, just like Davy Crockett used to wear. We would go play around and go in the garden with them or play around with them. And we'd have great fun in our Davy Crockett hats. Anyway, all right. So, Chris, so can I dare to ask you, because I know that a lot of people Thanksgiving for a lot of people is about the food. uh, so did you have good food? Was it good? Was it nice? Was it great food? Did you have family sitting all around? What was it like?
I think the best part of the day was yeah, having a full table because I've been sitting alone at not even at my table, sitting at the couch or the desk eating my meals. So being with family at the table, and then my sister had invited a couple of elderly neighbors and a couple of neighbors that she's known well for dessert. So just speaking to people, of different cultures and backgrounds, that was fun.
Yeah. It made it sound a little bit like you ate the neighbours for dessert. Just saying. Just it's very slight. Anyway, all right. So, how are we doing? Have we got a few people?
Oh yeah, yeah, we have plenty, Rosemary.
Okay then. So, let's see. It is Saturday. I do believe it is the 27th.
Yes, my brother's birthday today, so if he's listening, happy birthday,
Oh,
Steve.
which one is that one?
Steve.
Happy birthday, Steve. All right. So, and I know, Chris, that it's your birthday tomorrow, isn't it?
It is.
So before I forget, um, you know, everyone, we should be singing a happy birthday to Chris, which we may or may not do as we go along in the show. But regardless, happy birthday, Chris, for tomorrow. We're hoping that you have a really, really wonderful day with your family. And I'm pleased that you're going to have people there surrounding you. And I know that your son is there and his wife is there and your sister and friends and so on. So I know that you're going to have a really great day tomorrow.
Thank
All
you.
right. Story time. It is story time. And let's see. I was thinking today about the amount of times people disparage mediums and mediumship. And one of the biggest complaints, one of the things that so many people say is, well, why do they always tell you such trivial stuff? And it is true that we actually do tell people trivial stuff, really, really trivial stuff, or what can seem to other people to be trivial stuff. Why can't they tell us more important things, they say? Why does it always have to be that silly stuff, the little stuff, the thing that doesn't mean anything to anybody else? And so I thought that I would give you a couple of examples of some trivial stuff, or what many people might consider to be trivial stuff, but which I consider to be the best evidence of the actual fact of life after death. The actual solid evidence that people like me, we're not just guessing, we're not just pulling stuff out of thin air, that we actually are being told things, that we actually can give our clients, for want of a better word, that we can actually give people a clear understanding of how much those in the spirit world not only see us, but they see us, they hear us, they are often joining in with us, they are often surrounding us if we have a party, if we're sad, or whatever it is. And I have found over my years as a spiritual medium, it is absolutely without a doubt that it is the trivial or seemingly trivial to everybody else, not so trivial to the person you're giving the information to, but certainly little trivial bits of information. It is my experience as a medium for over 40 years. It is my experience that it is those small details, those seemingly trivial details, I'm saying seemingly trivial details, that actually are the thing that makes us stop, makes us gasp, makes us, did she just say that? And it is those small and certainly trivial to other people, small and seemingly trivial details that are the direct and the most powerful evidence that our loved ones are truly with us, that somebody like myself is not just making it up when I say, I see your mother, I see your father, I see your grandfather, whatever. I'm not making it up. I'm not just pulling it out of the air. Because after I see them and then I begin talking to them, which is what I do, we have a conversation, I have a conversation with them, that is when very often the most seemingly trivial things come out. And just one example, which is what made me think about telling, I'm going to get into the story in a minute, I promise. But This last week, I was talking to uh, somebody, a client. We were, of course, everything is online now, isn't it? We were, I think we were using Zoom or something, and I was talking to her. I was first of all talking to her parents. I was talking to a few people in the spirit world connected with her, and she knew them, and she knew them quite well. She recognized them from what I said about them and the description of them. However, you know, hey, it could all be guesswork so far, couldn't it? Really, just could be guesswork. But then her parents began talking about her husband, or parents or grandparents, I don't remember. They were talking about her husband, and you know, I get I get people in the spirit world talking about husbands and wives who are great, who are not so great. I rarely get people in the spirit world talking about a spouse who is like, seems to be like, you know, Superman or something. But they were talking about this lady's husband and saying how fabulous he was and how wonderful he was and so on and so forth. And she was nodding away and smiling away. But then they told me something that was, I mean, I've never spoken to this person before. I didn't even know where she lived. You're on Zoom. You can tell me anything. You can tell me you're anywhere, and would what? Why would I question it? Um, but as we were talking, and I was talking about her husband, I was told by those in the spirit world that he has the most beautiful healing hands, and that he should be, in a profession as a doctor, a surgeon, or even a therapist, whatever. And at this point of my saying to her, they tell me he is a healer, that he has the most beautiful healing hands. He's an amazing, amazing healer. Is when she gasped out loud and said, "He's a physician." So now we get it, don't we? Now we know that people in the spirit world, they know this lady, they know her husband, they know all about her son, they know all about, and on these trivial or seemingly trivial little pieces of information sort of came about. So, all right. So, having said that, I thought I'd give you a couple of little examples of what seems to be so trivial, so ridiculously trivial that, and then you stop and then you think, wait a minute, not so trivial after all, because this is the true evidence. This is the power of the trivial stuff. So, here we go. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, not that long ago. Anyway, it doesn't really matter how long ago, does it? Once upon a time, I had two clients. Now, I write about them I think it's in the Eagle and the Rose, I think. But uh, they, in the book, I call them Mr. and Mrs. Darling, but actually, sorry, I call them Mr. and Mrs. Dearest, but they're actually Mr. and Mrs. Darling. What a fantastic name. Wouldn't you like to be Mrs. Darling? Anyway, so, all right. So here we go with this story. So I am going back a long time because I was in my 30s. Oh my gosh, can I remember that far back? Anyway, so I was taking clients at my home. Now, okay, I'm 30 something, 34 years old or something like that. All right. Wearing, this is my typical in those days, probably a pair of jeans, definitely a t-shirt. And in those days, it was very popular, and I had very, very long hair that went all the way down to between my shoulder blades. It was very long and very straight. And I would often wear a little scarf thing, a little tiny corner square that it was all the fashion, all the rage anyway. So there I'm answering the door, in a very casual dress. And remember, I'm very young. And might I just say also that even though I was 34, I probably looked much younger than that, as my daughter did when she was in her 30s. She looked as if she was in her 20s anyway. Moving on from that. So here come this couple. They're an older couple. She was quite large. She was taller than her husband. She was quite large, towered over her husband, and had the attitude of, move out of the way because I'm coming through. And the husband, he was short, a little bit on the round side, really lovely, very sweet, and seemed to be very, very timid and very quiet, very timid. So they were both coming for a consultation, but not together. So first of all, she comes in the door, she looks me up and down, and you know that immediately she's thinking that, I'm not what she wants to see. She's already looking down her nose at me, I'm afraid. Now, so I get her into my little study, and we sit on the sofa, and I give her a consultation, and her mother talks to her. We have lots of people coming through from the spirit world, and grudgingly, and I have to tell you, grudgingly, she accepts that these people are there. She accepts that what they're saying. She accepts what they're trying to say to her, but what she wants from me and from them is she wants to know about her husband. She wants to know about her husband's health. Bless you. She wants to know about her husband's health. She wants me to talk to her about her husband. And I am told by Grey Eagle, no, when her husband comes in, we can talk to him separately. So for whatever reason, I wouldn't say too much about her husband to her. And after all, he was coming for his own consult anyway, right? So we finished. She was so annoyed. She was so angry with me. She was so frustrated with me because I wouldn't tell her what she wanted to hear. And I do believe that when you come to see somebody like me, you don't always get what you want, but you always, always get what you need. So here we go. So now I stand up because now I have to see her husband, and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, really I'm saying to Craig, do we really have to do this? Have I really got to live through another hour like this? Anyway, so I showed her to the door and showed her into the living room, and her husband was sitting on the sofa, and he got up, and she was now standing in the hallway, and she's got her arms folded, and she says to him, we're leaving. She, meaning me, I'm standing behind her, she's a complete waste of time, and we're leaving. She's no good, is what she said to me. One of the rudest people I think I've ever come across in my own home, without me actually throwing them out. But anyway, so the husband says, well, and he's very timid, but he says, well, I'd still like to try. I'd still like to see what she has to say to me. So she's still mad. So she pulls the teeniest little notepad out of her purse, and she hands him this notepad and a pencil, and she says, well, here, write it down. And that, meaning the notepad, and that'll be too big for what she's going to tell you. So she goes and sits on the sofa, and I leave her to it because there's nothing I can say to her, absolutely nothing I can say. So I go in with her husband. Now, I'm in with her husband quite a long time, a longer time than I've been with her. At one point through the consultation with her husband, she comes and knocks on the door and yells through the door, are you finished yet? So she's basically a woman who likes to have her own way. She's obviously a bully with her husband. She likes to, sort of rule the roost a little bit. Anyway, so we tell her to go away. I tell her to go away. You've got to sit down because I'm not done yet. So I continue with the husband. But within 5 minutes of Mr. Darling sitting down, and he was a darling, I have to tell you, but within 5 minutes of Mr. Darling sitting down and me settling down to trying to connect with who he wanted to speak with. And I asked him, is there anyone special that you'd like to speak with? And he said, just my dad. And there was his dad right there. Now, I described him. Well, come on, I'm not good at descriptions anyway, so I could have been describing a dozen different people. Remember, this is a story concerning how critical people can be about the information that we give to them, right? So all right. So I describe him, and I describe how he died, and I'm talking to the father who's telling me all of this stuff. He had a massive heart attack and so on and so forth. He talked about his health issues. He talked about quite a few things to me, so that we got a nice picture. I could give Mr. Darling a nice picture of the man who was standing next to me. And then this wonderful father, I guess he was Mr. Darling as well, this wonderful father whispered to me, just say jelly babies. Now, in America, you'll know them as gummy bears. All over the world, you know them as something different. But jelly babies in England are this soft sweet in the shape of a baby. And they're sort of jelly-like, and they're soft with a bit of sugar on the top. And gummy bears, I know in America, you have they're sort of hard, but they're often in the shape of a baby. So jelly babies in England, I think they're still a very common kind of a sweet or candy, whatever you want to call it. So there is Mr. Darling Senior saying to me, Rosemary, just never mind anything else. I'm not going to say anything else. Just tell him jelly babies. So I'm arguing a little bit with Mr. Darling Senior, and I'm saying to Grey Eagle, really, I think I need more than this. Because I'm thinking this is a silly little piece of information that doesn't mean anything to anybody. So I'm asking Mr. Darling Senior, well, can you explain why? Why am I saying jelly babies? What's going on with that? He said, no. He said, he won't need an explanation. He will know exactly what you mean. Just say jelly babies. So, with a little bit of embarrassment and remembering that Mr. Darling's wife has just disparaged me and told him I'm no good and all the rest of it. So with a little trepidation, I say to Mr. Darling, I've no idea why your father wants me to say this to you, but here goes. One word. He is asking me to tell you jelly babies. And I thought that poor Mr. Darling was going to have a heart attack right in front of me. His face went very pale, then it went very red, then he almost fell off the sofa, and he's clutching his heart, and he's staring at me as if I have 3 heads. And I'm a bit worried for him, so I hold his hand and I say to him, are you all right? And he finally manages to gather himself together, and he says, can you repeat that for me, Rosemary? And I said, yes, your father won't tell me anything else until I've told you jelly babies. And he started to chuckle. And then he put his hand in his pocket and he brought out a bag of candy, sweets, something. It was a crumpled up bag. And he said, you see these, Rosemary? He said, when my father was alive and I was a boy, he would always carry around a bag of jelly babies. And he would always make sure that he shared them with me. And all the way through my life and growing up, my father carried jelly babies in his pocket. And when I got old enough to buy my own jelly babies, I started carrying around a bag of jelly babies as well. And I'm never without them. My father was never without them, and I am never without them. And with that, he held out the bag to me and he said, would you like one? a trivial piece of information, of course, right? Means nothing to anybody else. But with that one word, jelly babies, Mr. Darling knew without a shadow of a doubt that his father was standing next to me, whispering that one word in my ear. Just tell him jelly babies. So we then went on to talk about his health, which wasn't good, and the surgeries that he's had and so on. And I could see now, talking to him, why his wife wanted to know about her husband and his health and so on. And I could understand why she was upset with me when I wouldn't talk to her about what was going on. So finally the consult finished and we opened the door, and as we opened the door, there is his wife standing in the doorway of my living room with her arms folded across her chest, and she's raised herself up, and she's saying, see, I told you she was no good. I told you she was no good. And Mr. Darling seemed to grow before my eyes. He seemed to get taller and taller as the moment went on. And he reached up into his shoulders and he said, well, he said, she's told me something that nobody else has ever been able to tell me. And poor Mrs. Darling, she was so annoyed, she was so angry. She said, well, what was that? And he looked at her and he became this wonderful warrior. He said the one word to her, jelly babies. And she gasped and she leaned against the wall. And then she turned on me and she said, well, why didn't you tell me that? Seemingly insignificant little piece of information. I do have to tell you that they went home and I had a phone call a few days later from Mrs. Darling. Please may we come and see you again? And they came and they apologized. She apologized to me. I'm very, very sorry, and I had no right to say it, and so on and so forth. And Mr. Darling became my patient, and I saw them quite a lot. And they were the sweetest and the nicest darlings, really, that I could imagine. And she was just trying to be protective of him and trying to do whatever she could, because obviously she didn't want to lose him. He did suffer with heart problems, and so the story did end actually really very well. I'm going to tell you one more. I'm only going to tell you it briefly. If you want to read about this story, you can read it in The Eagle and the Rose, absolutely. And it's about, and you'll find this title in The Eagle and the Rose, The Little Girl and the Tiger. So I'm going to cut a lot of this story out because we only have so much time anyway, don't we? I woke up one morning and, sort of opened my eyes stretched, but you know how it is in the morning. You wake up and and I sort of sensed somebody in the room with me, and I turned around, laid on my back, and there, standing in front of me, was the most darling, cute little girl you ever saw. She's probably about 3 years old, maybe 4 years old or something, and blonde curly hair. She was gorgeous little thing. I said, hello. She said, fingers waving, my mum is coming to see you today. I said, she is? She nodded, waving the fingers. I said, are you going to come when mum is here? Are you going to come and talk to me? Are you going to tell me all about yourself and about your mummy? And she waved her fingers again, and she said again, my mum is coming. She was very shy, very cute little thing. My mum is coming to see you today. So I said, okay. So I said, is there anything at all that you'd like me to tell her when she comes today? She says, just tell mummy about the tiger. And she waved and she was gone. Yes, a trivial piece of information. What tiger? Fast forward, 2 ladies came to see me that day, one with very blonde hair, just like the little girl, and one with very dark hair. In the last story, never judge a book by its cover, right? Mrs. Darling judged me for my jeans and my t-shirt and my probably unprofessional look. But anyway, I was only young, come on. Anyway, never judge a book by its cover. So I wondered if the blonde-haired lady was the mother, but it turned out that the lady with the very black hair, dark hair, turned out to be the mother, because within, well, moments of me sitting down, there was this gorgeous little creature again, and she was standing next to the lady with the dark hair. So I introduced myself. I told them what we were going to do, and I said, and before we begin, let me just tell you that your daughter visited me this morning at about 6 o'clock this morning, and she asked me to tell you about the tiger. So I know that this is important to you. And she looked and she puzzled, no. So now I'm trying to guess what it's about. I'm asking the little girl, she's not saying a word. So was it a toy? Was it a soft toy? Did she have a tiger? Did she watch, movies, or did she have a favorite character in a cartoon? No, nothing. No. We couldn't figure it out. We still couldn't figure it out. No way could we figure it out. We didn't know anything about a tiger. The two women who were very close friends looked at each other. It meant nothing at all. So I told the mother again. I said, well, it was about 6 o'clock this morning. And at that, the little girl popped up and said, that was the tiger. That's the tiger near mummy's legs. That was the tiger, and I wanted to know that I saw the tiger. So I'm saying this to the mother, who's puzzling, and then all of a sudden, and you see, it's not that you read somebody's mind, because if somebody doesn't know what we're talking about, how can you read their mind or their thoughts? How can you do that? And suddenly her eyes opened wide. She said, wait a minute. And she said, this morning at around 6 o'clock, I got up and I went to the door I went and opened the front door to pick up the milk. That was when we had milk delivered, to pick up the milk from the doorstep. And as I went to pick it up, this huge ginger and white striped cat flew right across between my legs and almost knocked me over. I've no idea where it came from, and it certainly wasn't mine, and I'd never seen it before. And the little girl clapped her hands and she said, yes, that's the tiger, Mummy. I saw you and I saw the tiger. Trivial piece of information, right? That wonderful mother burst into tears. The best, the most clear, the most precise and inarguable fact. Her daughter had seen the cat, who looked very much like a tiger to her. Well, why wouldn't it? Had been able to come to me at pretty much the same time, or just after this thing happened, to tell her mummy, I saw the tiger. I saw the tiger. From then on, of course, when we give these pieces of information, it doesn't stop the ache, it doesn't stop the pain, it doesn't stop the hurt. You're still grieving. It doesn't really, do much or help in the way of taking away the pain of losing a child, or potentially losing a husband. It doesn't take away the pain of our lives, but just the knowledge that we don't die, just the knowledge that her daughter is actually not only alive, but she sees her, she hears her, she sees what's going on. Just the knowledge lent that mother wings. And she did float out of my house that morning. Her daughter had a lot more to say after that, but she did. They both floated out of my house that morning, feeling that they finally had confirmation that it is true, as trivial a piece of information as might give you the knowledge that it's true, that there really is a life after death, they'll take it, because to them, that information is not trivial at all. It's probably the most important piece of information that they're ever going to get in their entire lives, and it changes their lives. The end. Chris, how you doing?
Good, Rosemary. Vicky's in the chat room and she writes, "That made me go goosey."
Me too.
Yeah, that must be great for you, Rosemary, just to see the look on people's faces when everything clicks.
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear. I remember, I talk about going back and down and through the hole, which is when I go traveling. I can be in an audience of several thousand people, but part of me will go traveling. I'll move back, and I can literally go into people's homes. I can literally go under people's floorboards to find to find hidden lock boxes. I can literally go in. We can see cracks in the wall. We can see all sorts of things. And I remember once we were in a very large audience where I was describing. I had somebody in the spirit world for this lovely lady sitting there, and this poor woman had to sit there while her mother in the spirit world said, "Your kitchen is a real mess, and you need to fix that cracked tile behind the tap." So it's like she's looking at me, and of course I was able to see, because I'd gone down and back and through the hole. I was actually in her kitchen for one moment and could see the mess and could see the cracked tile. So, and I was able to say, yeah, it's just on the left of the faucet, and so on and so forth, and described it all. And this poor woman had to sit there, and I'm sure she went home thinking, "Oh my gosh, I better get that cracked tile replaced." Yeah, sometimes it's, the trivial stuff can be very, very funny, because again, it is absolute evidence that life after death is not a myth. It's not something we just make up in our heads. And we all know that there are many people who claim to be mediums who aren't, but we also should know, and absolutely we should know what to look for when we go to see someone like me. You should be looking for those small, trivial, or trivial to other people, pieces of information that mean nothing to anybody except you, because that's where the real evidence of the reality of life after death lies. Okay, Chris, keep coming.
Rhonda says, "Just knowing that our loved ones are still a part of our lives is healing."
Yeah, it is. I agree. It's so very much so. And of course, you do all know that I have the greatest job. I mean, who else has a job like this? It's such a great, great job. It's a fantastic job. And I shall never retire from it, by the way. Chris.
Helen's asking, saying, kind of off topic, but I'm always curious if your mom ever visits you or ever apologized for anything, and are your parents together in heaven?
Oh gosh, I shouldn't think so. That's doubtful. And no, I don't know if she's ever visited, but I have asked, and so I know some of you will think I'm awful and very unforgiving, and it's not that I'm unforgiving. I haven't forgiven, and I haven't not forgiven. I've accepted. This is who she was, and we should accept and move forward. And I think if you can just simply accept people for who they are, I'm sure that she had a lot in her life that made her the way she was. And I think if you forgive somebody, I think before you forgive, you have to judge. And I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge my mother, and I'm not going to judge, try not to judge anybody. So I have asked, because I really like my life to be wonderful and pleasant. And I don't like when people come from the spirit world with an agenda that is mean, and Greg will soon nips that in the bud. So it's very unlikely. I'm pleased to say that my mother will visit, because I'd really rather not. Just me. That's it. Chris.
Well, I thought I should also throw in, probably about this time, Rosemary, since you were talking about pieces of evidence, is that you actually have an event coming up, right?
I
Do you
do.
want to mention that?
Yes. Is it December the 12th or December the 13th or something? When is
December 11th, 10 to 1.
it? December the 11th, in 2 weeks then, everybody. Um, we are doing, once again, we are doing messages from the spirit world. It's going to be a 3-hour event, and we've done it twice before. Great Eagle and I will take that 3 hours, and we will give as many messages from the spirit world to those of you who are at the event as we possibly can. And we've had such great times doing it. We've had astounding messages, and in fact, I had a lovely person recently who had a message at one of these events, who then booked a consultation with me, and we had we have such a great time at these things. And even if you're one of those people who doesn't necessarily get a message, everybody gets a message. We all get a message because we all can learn. You can see how it's done. It gives you an indication of what you should expect when you go to see somebody like me, or somebody who says that they're like me. It gives you an idea of what you're looking for, what you're supposed to expect from somebody. So we always have such a great time, right, Chris?
Oh, it's the thrill of the week, right? It
Yeah,
actually can be the thrill of the lifetime.
I think so. I think if
Yeah.
you're one of those people who gets the message, and even if you're not one of those people, just to participate in that, we try to keep our numbers small so that more people have a chance of getting a message. So please join us. You need to go to our website. I think Chris just put the link up anyway. Just go to the website, rosemaryaltea.com. You'll find the link, you'll find the event, click on the link, it'll take you right to where you need to go. Chris.
All right. So two of the people in our chat room have some happy things coming this week. Tracy's saying it's my youngest son's birthday on Monday. And I'm trying to scroll and find what the second one was. I'll come when I come through the
Okay,
chat room,
so
I'll see.
Tracy, does he have a name? Can I say happy birthday to your son specifically? Is that what she's asking for? That I say happy
I
birthday?
think so.
Well, I'd like a name then. Then, I can happy birthday to Chris. Happy birthday to Chris. Happy birthday, dear darling, wonderful Chris. Happy birthday to you for tomorrow. And I do the same, Tracy, for your son. If I know his name, I can sing happy birthday to Tracy's son. But it's not quite the same. Tracy, come on, give me a name. Did you find the other one, Chris?
Yes, Linda says my son is getting married today, and I hope their loved ones who passed will be with them.
Oh, Linda. You see, did she give a name? No. All right. Here is a message for Linda, because this is a big day for you, isn't it, darling? Oh gosh, to see your son married, how wonderful is that for you? And how wonderful is that for him? And Linda, I can absolutely assure you, I'm told from Grey Eagle, but I see a crowd coming into the room right now. I'm told that, well, even though they're only here momentarily. They're going to be with you. They're going to be with your son. They're going to be in the church. They're going to, or wherever it is they're having the wedding. They're going to be at the reception. In other words, they're going to be celebrating. You are not just going to have one or two people in the spirit world, Linda. So be prepared and pay attention. You might find a feather or a penny or something. Pay attention, because I'm sure they'll let you know that they're around. So yes, absolutely, without a doubt, I think the whole lot of them are going to be there. So when you think you're having a party, they're going to be enjoying and joining in your party too. Chris.
Carolyn says, great story. When a person gets to the spirit world, are they more loving and clear of their so-called hang-ups, which are of no use?
Not necessarily. There's a lot to process when we pass into the spirit world and we look at our lives. There's an awful lot to process, isn't there? And I think it depends on the person how easily they accept their faults and flaws. We all have them, you know, and how readily they want to learn and how readily they want to grow. But I do know that there are some people who sort of, you know, have tremendous guilt and have to live with that guilt. And so this is why I always say, don't leave it until it's too late to go tell the person you had a falling out with or an argument with. Don't leave it till it's too late to go say, I'm sorry. You might not be sorry for whatever the argument was about, but certainly you can be sorry for distressing another person. I'm sorry I upset you. I'm sorry I distressed you. I still mean what I said, but I should have never said it in that way, and I'm very sorry about that. There are lots of ways that you can apologize without actually saying that you think you're wrong. So, you know, just please, if you're one of those people who is carrying a burden that you haven't spoken to someone, or you haven't connected with someone, or you just, you know, there's somebody that you feel, you know, badly about because either you treated them badly or whatever it was, fix it, would you? Go try and fix it. Not everybody's going to be forgiving and willing to listen to you, but go fix it, please. Chris.
Mark says, what a lovely and beautiful true story you shared.
Thank you.
You know I believe in you and have learned much, and I know that my loved ones are continually coming to visit me, to a point my home is always full of spirit.
Oh, nice. Nice. I love that, Mark.
Judith says, I love the darling story. I would love to hear the story when you were surprised by a visit from Mother Mary. That would be a good Christmas story.
Oh, maybe I'll tell that. You know, we're not quite in December, so I will absolutely tell you. I'll tell you that story. I've already told it once. I'll happily tell it again. And with names and so on, isn't it wonderful there was a Mr. and Mrs. Darling? But I did have a wonderful couple who used to come and see me, Mr. and Mrs. Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, that was their real name, Mr. and Mrs. Christmas. Yeah.
Well, Judith says, I have bought my ticket for the December 11th.
Yay!
And I hope everyone is there too.
Well, good. Thanks, Judith.
All right. Tracy has given us her son's name for his birthday. It's Tom.
Tom. Did she give his age? I guess not. No.
No.
But we don't care, really. Are you ready now, Tom? Are you ready, Tracy? Happy birthday to Tom, Tracy's son. Happy birthday to Tom. Happy birthday. Have a wonderful, fabulous, marvelous, amazing day, Tom. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Keep going, Chris.
Well,
I could make a living out of doing this, couldn't I?
Sort of you could, because you have a fabulous voice.
Those surprise telegrams. I could do surprise telegrams for people. Right.
There was a question earlier that I don't think you can answer because you can't see a picture. They're coming in on Facebook and wanting you to tell them something about the picture that's on their Facebook, but even I can't see the picture, so I can't help that person.
Sorry, my lovelies, we can't help you, but maybe you could send it to us in an email, Chris, KRIS at rosemaryaltea.com, and she can forward it to me and we could take a look at it and see what it is, but we can't help you right now, I'm afraid. But we do thank you for joining us, and we hope you're having a good time. Chris.
Yes. Carol's on saying, Rosemary, I've missed you all recently, but it's wonderful to see everyone now.
Where have you been, Carol? We've missed you too. Chris.
Rhonda says, Rosemary, I just started reading Angels in Training.
Oh, yes.
It's such a great book, as are all of your books.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, I wrote Angels in Training actually with my daughter, and we wrote it initially. It was let me do that again. Specifically for Italy, and then we published it here. So it is a great book because I always think that our angels and we know there are angels, don't we? We all know that there are angels. I always feel that our angels are so overworked, they've got to be. They've got have so much to do that why wouldn't we, if we possibly can, why wouldn't we help them? And if we can do take an angel action, which is what this book is about, and it's filled with suggestions of angel actions. Some of those angel actions are for other people, and some of those angel actions are for your own selves, because your angels want to take care of you too. So I feel that we should train in our own small way to be angel like, not to be angels, but to be angel like. So this is where Angels in Training came from. And if you want to know more about that book and the suggestions and the stories in that book, you can email once again Chris, K-R-I-S, at rosemaryaltea.com, or simply go to the website and you'll find it there. Chris.
Tracy's saying, thank you so much, Rosemary. Tom is a little embarrassed. I just did that. He's 19 on Monday, but I thought it was lovely of you.
Oh, Tom, 19. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you're being a good boy. I'm going to really embarrass you because you're 19 years old. You don't need me to talk to you like you're 6, do you? Well, actually, like you're 8, like my grandson. I have a feeling that I'm going to talk to my grandson when he's 19 and 20, the same way I talk to him now, because he's my darling boy. And I bet you, Tom, as much as I'm going to embarrass you, I know that you're your mummy's darling boy too. So do have a wonderful birthday, darling. Bye. Chris.
Mark was commenting in the chat room to Linda Ann. Linda Ann got the wedding message saying, what a joy you will have this day, and what a message. And I'm called to point that out simply because when your event on December 11th comes up, yes, there will be people who get messages, but all of us in the chat room, in the room itself, will be able to experience these messages in ways that probably will touch us. Would you not say so?
Well, I know that everybody who's been to the others that we've done end up crying or supporting, because we have so many. We hear stories of tragedy. We hear stories of pain, and we hear stories of bravery. When you are witnessing people getting messages from the spirit world, maybe someone who lost a child, or maybe someone who's heartbroken because their soulmate has passed or whatever, and when you can bring these people together, it's an amazing thing. And the stories that we hear of bravery and courage and just so inspirational, I feel. And people do, even if it's not your personal story and not your personal message, you're still going to be affected by it. You're still going to be inspired by it. And you're still going to probably be weeping a little bit about it too, right, Chris? Because you all sit there. I never cry. I don't ever cry in these things. I'm the tough one. I'm the strong one. But I know that Chris sits behind the scenes having a tear or two from time to time, right, Chris?
Well, you can't help but be touched. I mean, it's emotional for everybody because it resonates within us. We've all known or experienced similar things, and it's validation that, our loved ones are there and they know what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's real evidence, isn't it? Real evidence that we hear. Okay, let's keep going.
Judith says, when I find coins, I always know my mother is saying hello. She seemed always to find money, coins and bills everywhere she went. I associate finding coins with my mother.
Oh, that's so funny. And I'm sure that she's dropping them in front of you from time to time as well, my love. Chris.
Mark says, I know this is for real and that you did so for my birthday, and messages from Bobby and Gerard and the love they had for me through my sickness.
Thank you, Mark. I do appreciate your support and all that stuff. You are lovely. Thank you.
Carol's asking, commenting and asking. She's trying to get her business up and running in Texas, and you had given her counsel some time back that she'll be okay. She said, I'm so grateful to my friends that helped me. Does Gray Eagle think that I'm still on track?
Doing a double check here, and he's nodding. So just keep moving, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing more of what you're doing. Chris,
Okay. Loretta says, "Good morning, ladies, and
good
everyone
morning.
here. I had the most beautiful experience with Rosemary twice in my life.
Oh,
One was 20 years ago, and one was just several months ago. And yes, I cried."
you wouldn't like to remind me, Loretta, would you? I see so many people, and I hear so many amazing, amazing stories, which is why we have a story time, because we always have lots of stories. But I do have an awful memory. But I am. Did you waited 20 years to see me a second time? I bet I gave you what for that, right? You waited 20 years to do this again.
Yeah, so we're getting right up toward time, Rosemary. A couple of reminders I think we should do.
Okay.
Uh, so people who have not yet subscribed to your newsletter, I think it would be very wise now, folks, to do that because we're going to be giving out a small little gift toward the end of the month, beginning of the new month, and our newsletter about the same time our newsletter is coming out.
So our newsletter usually comes out on the 1st of December. So if you haven't subscribed, it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Just let me say that. And furthermore, I know a lot of people are afraid of this. We will not inundate you with emails. You might get 2 or 3 emails from us in a month, not a week, in a month. So we will not inundate you. But the good thing about subscribing is that you will then receive our newsletter. In the newsletter will be all of our upcoming events and ideas. And I always like to put something in the newsletter. And it's Christmas. Can I say that? It's because we're still in November, but I'm so excited for Christmas. I love, love, love Christmas. And I've always loved Christmas. And I'm going to be possibly, it hasn't yet been decided, but I might be cooking for quite a lot of people, which is fine because the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. I shall be doing a traditional Christmas dinner, and maybe we'll have a cooking show, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to be making. And also we always have a party, and the party will either be on Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas, or we might have it on New Year's Day. We're not sure quite yet what we're doing, but we always have a party, and people come from all over the place, even though it's snowing and it's wet and it's cold and so on, because I'll be in New York. People call my daughter and say, I'll come, but only if your mum is making trifle, or I'll come, but only if she's making those almond tarts she makes. Well, I'll come if she makes whatever. So we have lots of requests from people, often people I don't even know. They remember what I cook for them more than I remember what I've cooked. So anyway, we'll be talking about Christmas, and we'll be celebrating Christmas and doing quite a few fun things for Christmas in December, which is on Tuesday, I do believe. Anyway, Chris.
Judith says, "Rosemary, happy you seem more cheerful today. I hope that means you are feeling better. You have had a few boo-boos lately. Your smile is so bright, and because of that, you make me feel better."
Well, do you want to tell them what I said to you, Chris,
As
before the
soon as I
show?
read this, I was like, "Oh, what timing, right?"
Yeah, go on.
So Rosemary and I get on, a few minutes before we go live. And I had said something similar, Judith. And Rosemary has this saying, she didn't say it this morning, but in the past, double happiness, double happiness, double happiness. If you've heard her story of stubbing her toe and yelling double happiness, you'll know what I
Yes.
mean. But Rosemary's a trooper. That's all I can tell you. She will turn on when she needs to turn on, and then take a rest when she needs to take a rest.
It's so true. Very often, very often when you see the big bright smile, it's because I'm thinking, I cannot give in today to the fact that my shoulder is aching so badly. I didn't sleep well. And I said, you don't want the music plays. Really, you don't. You don't. My foot is better. See, I always try Even in the tough times, I try to be positive. My friend's grandson told me yesterday, we were talking about age, we were talking about legends and what a legend is. And he was talking about age and how old his grandmother was. And his grandmother happens to be quite a bit younger than me. So, so I said to him, so who do you think is older, your grandma or me? And he said, you. And and you walk strangely.
Oh my.
Well, they have these big, deep sofas. So it's hard for me with my back to get up out of a deep sofa. So I have to get to the edge of the sofa and push myself up. And then I have to straighten my back up. I probably look like a little tiny old crooked lady. That nursery rhyme, there was a crooked man who had a crooked house. Well, there was a crooked woman who had a crooked back, and that's me. So we have to keep smiling and we have to keep happy, because if we don't do it for ourselves, nobody else is going to do it for us, are they? And thank you for that, my darling, because I'm always happy when I'm doing these shows anyway. It always makes me feel good. So thank you. I'm doing fine.
Well, isn't that a great lesson though, Rosemary? Because if you had come on moaning and complaining, everybody in the chat room, everybody who watches later would suddenly be pulled down into that. But if you come on with a big smile and happy and uplifted, you can actually uplift another room.
That's my job. That's my job. But it's not just my job for everybody else, it's my job for me too. Because if I find something to smile about during the day, if I find something to chuckle about during the day, then I'm going to be feeling so much better. And I think we all should strive to do that. Having said that, thank you all very, very much for joining me. Thank you, Chris, for doing such a superb job once again. Thank you to Grey Eagle for, always being an inspiration during our story time, etc. Thank you to all of you for joining me. Thank you so very, very much. We'll be back on Thursday, but we might be popping in and out. You never know when we're going to be popping in and out during the week for our off the cuff and so. We haven't done one in a while, so we need to get that sorted out. When Chris comes back on Tuesday, we might be doing some stuff then. So subscribe for the newsletter. In the meantime, everybody, until I see you next time, please, all of you, have a very, very blessed rest of the day and have a very blessed weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.